for joining us. This is Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. I am Nat.
Hey, everybody, and I am Z. Good
What's going
morning, good
on?
afternoon,
All of the
whatever,
above.
yeah,
Whatever
whatever time of the
welcome.
day it is for
Correct.
you.
It's a Sunday in August, which is our third month of doing this. Third year. We're going into our third year,
Yeah, we'll be in our third year.
which is kind of wild,
Mm-hmm.
where we started in August.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome back. We took a bit of a hiatus of sorts, a little break, but Zia posted some stuff on that. So, welcome back. And I hope you guys take some time and look at our past episodes. And as we're getting ready to dive into this new season. So, anything else going on with Jizzy?
No, just some things that I'll talk about when we get to the hot tea.
Okay, because I was about to say something. I was like, you know what? Let me let
Yeah,
her.
when
Let
we
me
get
let
to
her
the hot
live.
tea,
Let
yeah,
me get her life.
we'll
Let her
talk
get her
about it.
life. Yes, yes,
Yes, yes.
yes. So yeah. Oh, and today's episode is called "The Art of Rest," which I think is quite telling, since it's August, end of the year, vacation season. People are about to get ready to go back to school or send their kids back to school and the like. So
Yes, end
taking
of
some time
summer.
out.
Yeah, yeah,
End of
end of
summer.
summer. Um, Getting ready to get back into the groove of, like you said, school. Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's you have kids that are in elementary, high school, or primary education, we should say.
Right.
Secondary education for those who are maybe have children that are in college, or maybe you're going back to
Mm,
school yourself. This is probably the perfect time to just get some much needed rest.
rest. And set
And
up a rest schedule for you as you enter this new busy season.
yes, yes, because the next few months will be busy. Because once
Yes.
September hits, it's September, and then it's the new year. Like
Bam, 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 bam,
those
bam,
months fly
bam.
by very fast.
Girl, you ain't never lie.
So, what is the tea on the table today?
Well, since we're talking about rest, there is a calm tea called Calm Rest. It's a wind down bedtime tea. It invites, you to take quiet moments for yourself, a little bit before bed, after a workout, or basically when you need a restorative moment. It has chamomile, lavender, and passion flower, a little bit of lemon balm, and a subtle sweetness of licorice and vanilla. And I'm usually not a fan of licorice and
Neither
vanilla.
am I.
Or
I'm not.
licorice, I'm like kind of vanilla okay, but it's a slight hint, nothing overpowering. So check it out and make sure you take that time to get some rest and enjoy your tea.
Yes.
What's a hot tea?
As you can tell, my cough is dissipating
Yes, I noticed. I'm
a
glad to hear
little,
that.
but it came back, and I'll get to why it came back in a minute. Um, so if you haven't heard, um, if you've been living under a rock, or you have just
Not living
not
under a
been
rock.
on the interwebs, Lizzo um, is being sued by 3 of her dancers that claimed they were weight shamed, faced religious and racial harassment, assault, false imprisonment, among other allegations. And the girls are up in a tizzy because Lizzo has been such a staple in the fight for LGBTQIA rights, representation,
Hmm.
like size representation.
Yes.
She created a whole line of loungewear, underwear specifically geared towards women who are larger than what the average
Hmm.
sizes are there for you to choose from in clothing
Plus
and
size
underwear.
models.
Yes. I hate
14 and
plus.
up.
I hate
I
saying
hate
plus
that.
size. That's why I tried not to use that term, because I really don't. Because
So you
you
think
could.
they'll ever change that? That's something we need to talk about.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you why. A lot of people. I really the. So let me get back into the Lizzo thing, and then I'll
Oh, yeah,
circle back
yeah.
around to
Hmm.
that. So Lizzo, apparently, some of her dancers said that, like, with sexual harassment, she made them engage in like these
Hmm.
sexual acts at a strip club in, I think it was Amsterdam, that is
Amsterdam.
known to have very explicit
That I've been to
sexual,
Amsterdam. Yo, that stuff is off the chain.
yes,
I've been to the red light
sexual,
district.
shows.
Yes.
And
They're on every
for
corner.
Right. And I was having this conversation with someone. I don't know if it was you, if it was Tisha, but I feel like this. Lizzo is from a generation where they feel like they are really free,
Right.
but they don't feel like you're free, if that makes sense. They feel
Mhm.
like they're free to do whatever, but they want to hold you accountable to everything that you may possibly do in your life.
Right.
And so while you're living in that type of reality, shit gets real for you real quick. I
Mhm.
really think that she was in a situation where she thought, I'm with people, I'm with friends, I'm with people I trust, especially because I had them sign an NDA. We're just going
Right.
to get wild. Everybody should feel comfortable with just getting wild, and not realizing that no, everybody is not comfortable with being wild. And there are some
Mm-mm.
boundaries that some people have regardless of who they're with. And,
Right.
and, and they're not going to engage in certain activities regardless of who you are,
And what the
where they
situation
are.
calls for.
Exactly. And I really think, and this is a term that I like to use a lot, I really think she thought shit was sweet and just was going to do what she wanted to do
When she wanted to
when
do
she
it.
wanted to do it. And that's cool. Like, if you can express your sexuality and your sexual freedom in whichever way you choose, but you
Mhm.
just cannot force that upon somebody else. And I think that
Agreed.
that is what happened. And instead of her understanding that maybe these people had boundaries, maybe she thought, oh, y'all just being prudes, y'all just
Yeah.
not really. And then that caused a ripple effect of other things. Um, I'm again, I'm been trained to stay in the middle. I don't take either side really until have all the facts, because I'm not
Mhm.
representing Lizzo and I'm not representing her dancers.
Mhm.
So then if you're not representing either person, you're kind of trained to stay in the middle until you see the facts, until
Correct.
everything plays out. So I'm not going to say that Lizzo is 100% guilty, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And so there's usually something that happened, and what that something is takes shape however it takes shape. And
Mhm.
it can take shape in a lawsuit. If I was her, I would just say, I would come out and apologize. And I know this sounds wild, because I hate when people do this. But in her situation, I would apologize without apologizing, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
I would acknowledge that maybe these individuals felt uncomfortable, but I wouldn't go far to say that I made them feel uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because then you're getting out there, taking some responsibility of how they feel, but not taking responsibility of the harm that they
That
are
was
saying you
inflicted.
caused upon them. If
Right.
I were her, that's what I would do. I don't think she's going to lose anything from this, because I feel like cancel culture is kind of winding down, because people see
Yeah.
at certain levels how ridiculous it is, because you want to cancel people for everything.
Mhm.
They tried to cancel Marlon Wayans
For what?
earlier this week because people don't lack reading comprehension, and he posted
Well, we know
something.
that that is true.
Honestly, he posted a photo, and he posted something that if people who don't have reading comprehension read it, which they did, they would think he was defending the acts of the non-black participants in the Alabama brawl. But that's
What?
not what he was saying. But people lack reading comprehension, and so they all attacked him. And that's what the problem with social media is, specifically Instagram.
Mhm.
Instagram is a
That
dumpster
happened with,
fire.
Jamie Foxx and Jennifer Aniston.
Yes, yes. Jamie Foxx said they crucified Jesus. What do they think they'll do to you? And the Jewish people got it in arms. It's a saying
And
that
it
black.
wasn't because of they didn't initially, it was because Jennifer Aniston hyped it up and said, "I
Yeah,
can't believe X,
right,
Y, and Z," and then that just started a whole firestorm.
right. And the thing is, when this is the problem with people not trying to say that black people don't have a culture. We do have a culture, and the
Mhm.
culture that we have includes these things all the time.
Yep.
If you grew up in a black household, and I feel like it's across the board, I don't care if you are born here in America, you leave, you come back. I mean, if you were born here in America or you live somewhere else, like you were born somewhere else and you come here, it is a saying that we say, and that is to talk about your
Yep.
friends. If you don't realize, like, Jesus's friends turned on him, why do you think your friends are not going to turn on you?
Exactly.
But we
It
just
that
don't
again goes
say that
right.
way. We
That's
say it
comprehension, though. That's a
right.
cultural comprehension.
It's just cultural comprehension, and the fact that, and that's also because black people, Southern. Let's be clear. Southern white people probably understood what he said.
Yes,
The
probably,
Southern
some of them.
Baptists,
Mm,
no, those Southern hardcore Baptists knew exactly what he was talking about. Southern white hardcore Baptists because they say the same thing. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because it's rooted in church culture. And Black people are attached to their church
Mm-hmm.
like Karens are attached to calling the police on Black people having fun.
Boom.
So, but that's just to go to show you that situations, you can look at situations and you can interpret it differently. And especially
Mm-hmm.
when you're not of it.
Yes.
So I'm just
When
going to
you
leave
are,
it there.
when people are not of it, they just, you don't know what you don't know, but don't presume
Right,
that you do know and
right,
and try to ingratiate yourself with something you know nothing about and then call foul,
right,
but you don't get it
right. And I'm usually all for accountability, but James Fox did not need to apologize in that
at
situation.
all. He did
He
not.
should have said, this is a saying that Black people say all the time, have said all the time. And it's not about what you think it's about. It's about how your friends will turn their backs on you. I'm not apologizing for that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay? So
We
Lizzo
talk.
got an uphill battle. I think
Mm-hmm.
she'll be fine. She's going to have to sit this out for a year or two before she can come back full force, but she'll be fine. She'll be fine. And I need you guys to stop this shit. This pisses me off. Oh, I knew there was something wrong with them. I knew this is why I never liked them. No, you didn't like them because you never liked them. Y'all didn't
Right.
like Lizzo because you didn't like the fact that she was comfortable. People have a problem with other people being
Mm-hmm.
comfortable in their
With
skin
themselves.
and with themselves. And what I realized is that that is rooted in your own insecurities. I have no problem with Lizzo's size or how she chooses to show her body off. That ain't got shit to do with me. If you don't want to see it, guess what? You can scroll, you can mute, you can keep it where you can have, if you can make it so that certain people don't ever show up in your
With your algorithm.
in your algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I stay on TikTok. TikTok is as much as y'all don't think, TikTok is a non-judgmental space, and I hope it stays that way.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you have like one or two trolls that come in, but for the most part, it is very positive, and it is the king of algorithms. You literally can tailor whatever it is that you want to see,
Mm.
and I have
One
now
of these
my
days I'm gonna get on
algorithm.
there.
Yeah, now my algorithm is showing me cake gate, like cake talk. So now I'm on the cake talk side of TikTok where I'm seeing people who make cakes and
Oh
cupcakes. But then
wow.
there's like this seedy underground where like people be getting into beefs.
What?
It is a time. A time is had on TikTok. There's
Excuse me.
also DIY gate where there's like this big thing
Oh,
going on in the DIY community. It is TikTok is a time, okay? And I
let me
enjoy
find
TikTok.
out.
I enjoy
I'm
that
about to go
environment
check it
much
out.
better than IG. Tory Lanez was convicted
Mm-hmm.
and sentenced to 10 years without the possibility of parole. The charges that he was sentenced and convicted on are assault with a semi-automatic firearm, carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm in a
Oh.
vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. Now, let's be clear. He's getting time for the assault, but the bulk of this is guns.
Mm-hmm. Gun charge.
The bulk of this is all guns. And then his history with being a violent offender, because he is. Violence means
Really?
putting your hands on somebody else, regardless if it's a man or a woman. He's been
Right.
in physical altercation. This is what it
Oh.
is. And here's the other thing about it. Don't come saying y'all need to hold these white. I hold everybody accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it is possible that someone who was of a non-color, I don't want to say non-color person, a Caucasian individual who may have done the same thing may not have gotten the same time, but that
Mm-hmm.
is what's wrong. Not him getting 10 years. Because 10 years is definitely suitable in this situation because he could have got 13. And if he wasn't such an ass, he could have actually pleaded down
Plead
and
it
may
out.
not have, and probably would have gotten 3 years. He would have had to do 85% of that. He was in jail for most of that time. So he probably would be getting ready to get out.
Mm.
But you fuck around and you found out.
Right. FAFO. Hashtag FAFO.
And I have no sympathy for this man in any capacity whatsoever. 10 years, in my opinion, is suitable because if you're walking around with a loaded
Gun.
gun that's
Unregistered.
unregistered. Let me give you a quick story. This weekend, my neighbor was carjacked in front of the house.
How's she doing?
Carjacked,
Mm.
armed carjacking. Her purse, car, everything taken. My neighborhood is as long as I've lived here, it's been a pretty relatively quiet neighborhood.
Very quiet.
Not a lot of crime. And if it is crime, it's the crime that you typically see no matter where you are. Cars getting broken into.
Right. That
maybe
happens
somebody's
anytime.
tire getting stolen. Maybe a domestic dispute between family members. But nothing to this level.
Right.
And we know these are children. These are teenagers that did this.
Mhm.
And maybe a mile away from my house, they actually tried to carjack somebody else prior to coming to carjack my neighbor.
Mhm.
And they actually wound up shooting that man.
That was at the gas station.
Yeah, shooting that man in his face.
Good Lord.
And he survived. So this is what I'm saying. These people are out here reckless, unregistered, unlawful guns, doing these things. Yes, he deserves all of the 10 years.
Completely unnecessary.
And if
And
I were,
I don't understand, why do you have all that? Like, if you're looking at this person's life, right? They're a recording artist who's successful, who has money, has the world at their feet to an extent, more than the average person, and you out here wilding. And now all that just got taken away because of what?
well, it's all because some people feel the need to perpetuate a lie. And the lie is you're about that life. Let me tell you who was about that life. And our producer can back me up on this. Let me tell you who was about that life. Who really was in the streets. Who really was doing it. Nas, Jay-Z, 50 Cent. I'm trying to think of some other people that are well-known businessmen. Shit. Dipset. Jeezy.
Yeah, for real.
These people were really in the streets. The stuff they sing about, they really was doing. But they were able to transition themselves out of that mentality. These kids ain't about that life. You know why? Because these are the children of us.
Hello.
These are our children. We birthed these kids. We are successful individuals. They're not about that life. A lot of these rappers that grew up in the damn suburbs, except for these Chicago rappers. I'm gonna say this: them Chicago rappers really are about that life.
They about that life.
Please leave them children alone.
About it.
Please leave them children alone.
They're on another. That's a whole other wavelength. That's one of my areas I go to for work.
Yeah,
you don't.
Please leave them children. Leave them children alone.
Please.
And if they're from New Orleans, leave them children alone too.
That part. Yeah.
But a lot of these rappers that really make it, like Drake, is not about that life. Not that Drake. I mean, Drake talks about guns and stuff. Drake is not about that life. Okay, Drake is not about that life. Okay, I'm gonna say Kendrick Lamar is probably adjacent to it because he grew up in Compton, and Compton's still about that life. You understand what I'm saying? And the fact that he came up out of that just goes to show you. Listen, I came up out of it. I ain't going back to that.
Right.
But to say that he just thinks it's cool because it's of the life. This man is from Canada. Canada.
Hey.
Canada. Not about that life.
He's not about that life. He's not about that life.
And then he terrorized this woman for 2 years while this thing was going on to trial. They proved that this man was paying blogs and the likes to basically harass and put false stories out there. That man deserves every bit of that 10 years. Not only do you shoot at this woman, I'll say shoot at because I don't think he was intentionally trying to hurt her.
Right.
But I do believe he shot at her like a scare tactic.
But even so, why would you're in a car, like you're about to where do you think that's going to go? And you know the gun does not have blanks in it. So there's intent. Even if
they think guns are fun. Yeah. Like our producer said, they think guns are fun.
Guns are fun.
So he deserves every bit of that 10 years. I hope they deport his little Lucky Charm ass back to Canada once it's done. He gonna talk about some, oh, he pulled the OJ. Even if I did do it,
Wait, what?
it's yeah, basically, even if I am guilty of this, it's due to the trauma I suffered at the age of 11 when my mother died and severe alcohol abuse. Then, bitch, go get some help. Go to therapy.
Thank you. Because if you acknowledge that, then you know it's an issue, then go get help.
What I always say, go to God, go to God, go pray, and give a copay. I don't want to hear it.
Give a copay.
Go
That's a t-
pray and give a copay. I
that
don't want to
is a
hear it.
t-shirt.
I don't want to hear it.
Yes.
We too you are of the age where you know if you can sit here and tell me what your trauma is, if you can identify your trauma,
Mm-hmm.
then you have no excuse. Period, point blank, bottom line. I said what I said. Moving on.
That part.
A time was had a few weekends, last weekend. I attended the Beyonce concert at FedEx Field. Let me say, FedEx Field, count your motherfucking days, okay? I will never step foot in a FedEx Field in my life.
I've only been there once.
I don't care.
And that was enough.
When I tell you a FedEx Field, I don't care. If it says FedEx, I ain't going into a FedEx store. If I got to ship something, it's UPS. I will never set foot in FedEx Field in my life. Logistically, it was trash. There was a shelter in place. Ain't nobody know.
That's insane.
We're packed in there like sardines. I'm finding out days later, people was having seizures, passing out. Yes, because there's no air conditioning in there. They had armed police officers at the suite level when people were just trying to get up out of the melee just to get some air. And they were keeping people from getting up there if you didn't have a ticket or had business to be up on there.
Oh my Lord.
Then they're gonna talk about some. This is a field. This is a field that is the home of a professional football organization, and they did not have a strategic plan in place to keep what happened that night from happening.
That's insane.
You charge me $80 for parking and wasn't nobody there to scan my parking ticket?
Are you serious? $80 for parking? Who? Ain't nobody was there to direct, scan, nothing?
No. And my producer just sent something to us. Excuse me, that makes a lot of sense. DC is always under a terrorist threat.
24/7.
Then wasn't checking, nobody was at security checking nothing.
What?
I could have went in there with a whole, what do they call those 3D guns? Nobody was checking nothing.
Nobody checking nothing.
Nothing.
Wow. That's insane.
Okay?
Maybe new management will help fix it.
I hope, and this is sad because I live in PG County and I know how much revenue the actual stadium brings to the county.
Yeah.
But I hope they snatch this damn stadium right up out the county.
Girl.
No one was working.
But we need them jobs or we're going to have more carjackings because these kids, well, I can't say that because these kids ain't doing shit no way, which is their parents' fault.
I mean, the jobs are here and they still carjacking.
Yeah, you're right.
And
they're
not coming from the county, they're coming from the city.
From the city. Because they come out here and they're like, oh, y'all got money. So I hope whoever the conglomerate is that it will be taking over.
Well, Magic Johnson's in it.
Yeah,
hopefully Magic.
It's like 5 or 6 owners, right?
It's like the majority owner is a white guy and then everybody else. Right. Magic Johnson's in it. Hopefully Magic can get it together. That's all I care about. And it's good, but it's good because he's going to see that this county is some BS because remember he built his Magic Johnson Theater.
Yes, and all that foolishness that happened with it. And he was like, this is not, I'm trying to help y'all out and y'all are just going to sit here and just piss it away.
Girl, the workers at the stadium are temps. They're not real. It's just a lot. There's just a lot going on over there. But guess what?
I think they needed the fortitude of my man from the Montgomery Brawl and said assistance because at least they would have organized together to help what the fuck was going on. Excuse my French. But
I don't know. That
throw that
brawl.
hat up, that bat signal, bring in Aquaman, something.
Listen, all
Cause
I'm
I
saying is that was some bullshit.
but the
Okay.
concert itself.
Oh, Beyonce was that bitch. I don't care what. Let me tell you. I'm gonna say this so that we can move on to what
Okay.
we're actually talking about. And I'm gonna say this: you don't have to like Beyonce. Yeah, she doesn't have to be your favorite artist. You don't have to like her songs. You never have to have purchased an album, a single. That's fine. But what you will not do, what no one will ever do, is disrespect that woman's showmanship. I don't give a shit who you will never. You cannot take away from that woman's showmanship.
She knows
That
how
bitch
to put on a
put it.
show.
This is the second time I've seen her in the rain, pouring down rain. She still gives a show. She had to
Mm.
cut a couple things out just because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have known had I not already seen the clips. If I hadn't already seen some
Oh,
clips of the
the
show, I
show,
wouldn't even
right?
known.
That those were taken out.
That bitch puts on a show. You hear me?
How was Blue Ivy?
Good. And another thing, you. I'm gonna say this too. Y'all can say, argue amongst yourselves, argue with your mama, your daddy, your dog,
Not me.
argue with yourself in the mirror. You're not gonna argue with me about this. In this generation, in this time, right now. I'm not saying in the past. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the Michael and the Prince. I'm talking about
Right.
right now. You cannot point out anybody who is doing what she's doing. Period. Point blank.
Yeah.
Bottom line. And the only other person that is the person who surpasses her that you cannot touch is Michael. It's Michael and then
Yeah.
it's Beyonce. Argue amongst yourselves. I don't want to hear it. And Usher's up there too. The
Yeah,
only thing
because
that Usher is
he puts on a
missing,
good show.
the only thing Usher is missing is all of the, like, she
Yeah,
actually
the
takes the
extra stuff.
time to put in a theatrics behind it. That's the only
Yeah.
thing that he's missing. But there's nobody. Argue with your mama. There's nobody. I'm sorry. And if you have not been to her show, you do not get to have any say in this conversation. That bitch is Michael and Beyonce. Argue with your mama.
I heard that. I heard that.
Argue with your
Her
mama.
showmanship is unparalleled. Truly,
Unparalleled.
in this day and age, since Michael's passing,
Yes.
nobody else. And I've seen
No.
Michael Jackson a couple times, and I've seen Beyonce twice, and
Nobody.
wow,
And
it's just
Michael's microphone was on, and so is Beyonce. Beyonce's microphone is on at all times. At
mhm.
all times, okay? Argue with
With your
your
mama,
mama.
not
Because
us.
you're not going to argue with me.
Oh my goodness, facts on facts on facts.
Argue with your mama.
Y'all, we're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna come back and talk about the art of rest. And we're back. So today's topic is the art of rest. Something we touched upon in the beginning, and the importance of it as we gear up for this new school year, new semester, new after summer, and summer is winding down, and that's the time we should be resting. But
Yeah.
you
Or
know,
this new fiscal year for those of
oh,
you
that
who.
part, yes, the fiscal year. That is, whoo! I just got some stuff I need to do for that at work. So yeah, nowadays with the climate and the environment, people, places, things the way they are, do you feel like a lot of us feel like we can't keep up with our day-to-day deadlines and tasks because everything is challenging? We're being pulled in multiple directions, and literally sitting down to take a moment is something oftentimes you have to plan because you're being pulled in so many different ways, and you feel overwhelmed and you don't even understand or know how to sit down and rest. It's incredibly important that we rest our body. So many studies have shown the importance of it. It reduces stress. It gives us the opportunity to be more active and be more present with what you're doing and not just kind of go through in a haze and a fog. If you're not resting, it works against, you know, your your sedentary lifestyle. So if you're sitting down and chilling out, there's a point when you need to stop that and you're not resting. So like if you're just sitting there doing nothing and on your phone scrolling, for instance, that's not resting. But you're just sedentary, which is not helping rejuvenate, renew anything that is that you need to be doing. But resting helps boost your immune system, it enhances your sleep, and even can add years to your life. But what exactly is it? Like I said, it's not sleeping. The basic definition of rest could be cease work or movement in order to relax, sleep, or recover strength. There are 7 types of rest: physical, mental, sensory, creative, emotional, social, and spiritual. Physical, of course, you get if you're taking a nap, right? You're not doing anything. Mental, which is simply just letting your brain slow down, shut off, zone out, look outside the window, daydream. Do people daydream anymore?
Oh, I daydream all the time.
I mean, I know I do. I just be looking out the window like dee 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 dee, but I don't even know if people know how to do that
Oh,
anymore
I daydream all the time.
because of the devices. Sensory gives you a break from unplugging from sensory overload, i.e., being on your phone all the time, scrolling, 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 scrolling. That's an addiction, by the way. People have become addicted to that sensory and touching and scrolling and moving their little thumb or whatever. Creative rest, which isn't really taking a break from creative activities, but it's more focused on refilling and renewing your creative senses and your activities by getting in touch with spaces and activities that inspire you. Like going to the museum, drawing,
Oh, I was about to
painting,
say that. Yeah, going to a
you
museum
know?
is definitely a good way of, or if like you're a musician and you are,
Mhm.
let's say like you're a hip hop musician, and or a hip hop musician. I sound so old. If you are, if you're a hip hop producer or something like that, right? Or if your
Right.
genre is rap, maybe go see an opera.
Yeah. To change it up a little bit. Those
Yeah,
frequencies affect your can have positive effect on your brain and how you rest and relax and disconnect emotionally, which allows you to express your emotions without constantly needing to manage them. So not being on eggshells all the time. That is a drain on your system. And if you're having some emotional rest, it allows you to maybe calm your system from anxiety or other stressors that are going on.
I think
Yeah.
emotional rest is definitely a hard.
Yeah.
Says hard.
It's
If
it's a
you,
challenge.
it is a challenge, especially if you are someone who maybe is naturally anxious,
Yeah,
or if you are in a situation which causes you to have high emotions all the time.
all the
That is
time.
difficult to, or
It
if
wears
you,
on you.
yeah, because if you're in an environment where you can't really get away
Yeah.
to rest your emotional
Z and I
needs
know
and
all about
well-being,
that. We've all been in
yeah,
that situation.
you have to find ways to just release. I'll give you a good example.
Mhm.
Being around a family member, y'all know I talk about my uncle all the time, was starting
Ah,
to take an emotional toll on me, because every time I was around him, I just felt this emotionally uneasiness,
mhm.
unsteadiness, because he was just a jackass. So
Right.
I decided to remove myself from the situation
Mhm.
and completely sever ties for my own emotional well-being. But a
Correct.
lot of people can't do that. We did that to my grandmother. We took her out of a situation that literally was not allowing her to get, and we're going to talk about this because we talk
Mhm.
about dementia. It was not allowing her to have the physical, mental, and emotional rest that she needed, because she was
Mm.
living with him at the time. Look, scratch that. He was living with her. And it was causing her to really deteriorate
Right. Quickly, because you
quickly.
because you can't there's nothing to balance that because it's
No,
like an
there was
onslaught.
nothing.
There's
Right.
no break. It just kept coming and coming.
So, but go ahead. I'm sorry. But those are, sometimes those situations are definitely difficult to come up out of.
Yeah, and I think even to that point though, when folks don't have even realize sometimes you're in it and you don't even realize it that you're on 10 all the time
Mhm.
because you've just adapted to being emotionally tired all the time,
Mhm. Mhm.
and your
Mhm.
system doesn't know how to recoup. So it's a practice, something you got to practice. Socially, takes you away from social situations that can drain you or exhaust you, or the people that are around you can drain you and exhaust you. Just like
Sometimes,
we were
like
referring to
yeah, like Jamie Foxx said, they
mm,
crucified Jesus. What you think they gonna do to you?
that part.
Sometimes you gotta cut ties
Mm,
socially with somebody. because of the fact that it is very draining for you.
Yeah. They're energy vampires.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
just suck all of that any type of empathy you may have or what have you, or any inclination to be helpful, and folks just latch on, leech, and suck that from you,
Right.
you know?
Or look at it even in a way that's not so like negative, right?
Mhm.
If you're somebody who has FOMO and you feel like if you're not in every social setting,
Yeah.
you're going to miss out, that is
Yep.
going to cause a lot of stress on your body
It really
because you may be
will.
driving distances to be involved in situations that you really don't need to be involved in. You may be
Mhm.
spending money to go on vacations or
That you
trips
won't
with
have.
people that you really do not have. You may
Mhm.
be inviting people into your home and knowing that the
Mm.
energy that they bring is going to be something
Mm.
that's going to be hard to get out of your
Mm.
space once they
Mm.
leave.
Hello.
You can be, if you're
Snaps on that one.
socially, yeah, if you're somebody who is trying to keep up with the Joneses, you're
Mm.
buying
Mm.
stuff or homes that you feel like is going to elevate you, or you're trying to be in organizations that drain you,
Mm.
whether it be professional or social.
Correct. Just 'cause.
See, because it's not always, a lot of times we think, oh, I'm taking myself out of this situation because it's this person is this and this person is that.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's you.
Yes. What's the common
Sometimes
denominator?
you doing so too
To
much.
yourself. You're doing
And
too
you
much.
need to take yourself out of the situation because it's you. It ain't got nothing to do with the other person
Yes.
or people. But
Mhm.
I digress.
Yes. All of that. All of that. Well said. And then, of course, spiritual, taking that time to reconnect with your source, something greater than yourself, practices, meditation, prayer. They're so important. I got up this morning like a six something, seven, whatever, and did my meditation and prayer for about half hour, 45 minutes before I started my day. And that's something that I've been since a little bit before my vacation, and almost every day on my vacation, I've been doing to give me some clarity on a number of things going on in my world.
Yeah.
And it truly does. It does. Sometimes I like this morning, I just kind of sat there, listened to the meditation, and looked outside because I go meditate outside on my lanai, and just being still and giving yourself that and breathing and like reducing that anxiety that I may be having. And it doesn't take long for some folks, but if you get up and you practice it enough, you can connect spiritually and what have you with yourself. But that time is so important for you to kind of set the tone
Mm-hmm.
for your
Mm-hmm.
day and how you process, which helps with the other ways of resting and stuff,
Absolutely. And now
you
that
know.
you're talking about these activities that you engage in
Mhm.
to help rest, there are, other activities that people find restful. So a group of scientists got together, they interviewed people, they
Mhm.
discussed with them how they rest. Um, and the studies they did was across origin, financial status, age. And so after they did a thorough analysis um, of the responses they get, they found that the top 10 activities that kind
Mhm.
of help us unwind are mindfulness. So it's kind of like meditation, being mindful, being
Mhm.
present in the
Aware.
moment, being aware, taking time to give thanks to the creator for allowing
Mhm.
you to have this moment. Um, Watching TV, I feel like, yeah, a lot of people use that as rest. I
Yeah.
personally don't think that that's a way to rest unless you are someone whose mind is constantly racing and you
Mhm.
need something to kind of calm it down. So,
Right.
for example, if you are having a lot of negative thoughts, maybe watching something that's very funny may help you
Yes.
take your mind
Agree.
away from that, and
Mhm.
it's actually resting your mind because it's not filled with so many negative thoughts, but now you're
Mhm.
just at ease and able to take in whatever it is that you're watching that doesn't have that
Right.
negative effect on you.
Correct.
Um, Daydreaming, daydreaming of the positive things, not about like I'm about to go choke this bitch out kind of thing. Not that type of daydreaming.
I mean, that could, yeah, that may
I mean,
rest
that
you
can
though.
help
I mean, that may
because
help you. I'm not. We're
actually,
not encouraging violence here, nor
right,
are we promoting it. But
instead of
sometimes
actually
we
doing the
understand,
act. Yes.
right? But sometimes you understand.
So yeah, so it may be beneficial to actually daydream about the act instead of actually committing the act,
Correct.
but having a bath,
Yes.
definitely a good
Do
way
people take
to.
baths anywhere? I know I do. I love them. They need to.
I mean,
People
I think
should.
people don't.
Yeah, they
I
don't
think
think they have
people don't.
time.
I think I'm gonna say this: if you purchased a house maybe within the last, I would say, when they really started like the more luxurious design of making
Mhm.
sure that your bath and your shower
Are
were
separate.
separate, I think that's when people were really like into baths. I think
Mhm.
now people are more into showers and people don't look at baths as a way to really calm themselves.
Right.
I'm looking at these new home builds
Mhm.
and the ones that we've been looking at, it is definitely, I feel like, moving more towards understanding that the bath can be a luxurious experience because I'm seeing a lot of people build baths within the shower now. It's
Yeah,
not a
like a wet
separate
room.
extension.
Yeah,
Yes,
wet room.
yes, yes. So I definitely think it's making a resurgence.
Yeah.
Um, Taking a walk,
Mhm.
maybe not in this heat, but
That part.
taking a walk.
Maybe
Um,
maybe around your space. I don't know.
right.
I don't wanna say whole, but space.
Another answer was doing nothing much, which, hey, sometimes not doing anything is rest.
Yes.
Not having an agenda, not trying to figure out what to do to rest. It's like I
Right.
wake up and wherever the day takes me is where it
Yeah.
takes me.
I think more people need to do that
I think so
sometimes.
too. I think so too. Listening to music, definitely on
Always.
my top 10 of what things to do to rest. If I'm having a bad day, I pop on something that's going to instantly boost my mood. Being on your own, definitely something for me too. I'm
Mhm.
ambivert. I'm an
Mhm.
extrovert when it's not needed. So when I'm around my tribe and I feel comfortable, I'm definitely an extrovert. But I
Mhm.
also know when it's time to go. I also know when I'm depleted and I need to
Right.
kind of remove myself from a situation. The older I get, the more I'm realizing I have a threshold, and once I meet that threshold, I have to go.
I think our thresholds get lower and lower, honestly. It's like those TikToks and stuff. There was one I saw just did you send it to me? Being at the club and you at the coffee house
Uh-uh.
during the day. Someone sent me in your 40s going to the club, i.e. the coffee house, and you're listening and dancing to whatever is being played in the store.
Oh
And I
yes,
and that is
yes,
your turn up.
that is your turn up. I mean, you think about it. Um, if you think about it, the older you get, the you find yourself resting in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Um, the other two is spending time in nature and reading. One of the things that I did see on here that I did not see on here is for me, in order to restore, replenish, and refresh
Mhm.
myself, which is rest. Spa days are really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I treat myself to a facial once a month, not
Mhm.
because I just feel like yeah, part of it is like I'm trying to preserve the skin. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't want to look like a haggard old wretch. And
Not rich.
but it's also the time that I have no choice but to rest.
Right.
Sometimes you gotta force yourself to rest. When you're getting a facial, you can't move.
Right.
You can't go
Yeah.
nowhere.
Mhm.
Like my self-maintenance, and I call it my self-maintenance, like getting my hair done, my nails done, pedicures, my facials, all of that. It causes me to rest because I'm not moving.
Right.
Where are you going?
You gotta sit
You
there.
gotta sit still.
Mhm. I
But
agree.
that's me.
Right. And I think it's
Um,
I think finding those things and what I think one thing good that was good about this listing is you can do it where you are and it not necessarily cost you anything.
no, it doesn't cost you a dime. None of this
You
costs you a
know?
dime.
Exactly.
Nothing
So
costs you a dime that I just mentioned. Nothing.
exactly.
All of this is free 99.
Free 99.
Well, if you take a bath, you paying for that water.
Well, that's
But
true.
and if
And
you watch the
yeah,
TV, you pay for electricity.
right, and cable and
But
stuff. But we, you know, you see what we saying.
you understand what
It's
we're
a
getting.
nominal fee
Yes.
for some. For
Yes.
some.
Um when we so I sleep as a part of rest is definitely something
Mhm.
that I that I agree with to an extent because I've read some conflicting reports like people who take too many naps can
Yeah.
set themselves up for like dementia and Alzheimer's and other issues down the line. But
Mhm.
then you hear if you don't get enough rest,
It could
you
do the
can
same
set
thing.
yourself up for dementia and Alzheimer's and
It's
all those things.
balance.
So you have to find a balance. But um, and we all hear that lack of quality sleep can have serious consequences for
Mhm.
aging adults. I mean, if you're not getting a certain number of sleep, even in your 40s, it's going to have a tremendous effect because your body
Yes.
just cannot, my body does not bounce
Man.
back well if I do not have
That's
adequate
why we be going to
rest.
bed at like 10 o'clock these days.
It's 10 o'clock, girl. I'm in the bed at 8:30. I don't know
Okay,
what you
wow.
talking about. I'm in the bed.
Not at 8.
Now, I may not be asleep, but I'm laying
Okay.
down.
Okay.
I'm down,
Right,
I'm
right,
down
right.
for the night.
So
Um,
yeah.
so there have been studies that show that older adults with dementia struggle
Mhm.
with sleep disturbances, right? And so this can exacerbate your cognitive decline.
Mhm.
We know this. And if you don't believe it, think about when you're not well rested. How hard is it for you to
Hmm.
remember stuff?
Man, I've
How hard
had
is it for you to focus, to read, to work? You
to
know that it has
retain
to
anything.
retain information. It is
Right.
very difficult. Your immune system. Why do you think when you get sick they tell you rest?
Right.
Rest is the best way. Even medicine aside, even if you're not a medicine person, if you're doing holistic things, one of the things that you need to do holistically is rest. You
Rest.
have to give your body the
You have to
opportunity
be
to heal.
still.
And a lot of times we don't do that. So what happens? We leave ourselves vulnerable to infections, right?
Mhm. A resurgence of the ailment, or it
Right.
just never goes away.
I.e., I'm coughing again after getting better because I was outside in the rain, getting
With
my
Beyonce.
entire life with
With
Beyonce,
Beyonce.
didn't
Mhm.
take the day off the next day and went right back to work.
Yeah, there was no rest in there.
No, I got home 12:30 to get up at 6:30 just to go start work.
Right, and the stresses of what the week had to go with, the driving into
Right.
the city, all the other things that come with that. Did you rest enough to embark on those things to give your body a sense
No,
of,
and I
"I'm
work
good"?
from home, and people think, well, if you work from home, but you don't get that rest because
You
when I
don't
don't know who else out there is like me, but I may be at home working, but I'm doing other things too. I'm washing
always.
clothes, I'm prepping
Mhm.
dinner, I'm doing cleaning in between meetings. There's a
Mhm.
lot of things that I do when I'm at home working. I'm not just sitting there at my desk waiting for something to happen.
Right.
So,
I think that's a misnomer for
I
some
think it
folks.
is. I think
Not
people
everybody
think,
works like that, mind you, but
no,
there's a
no,
lot of people that do. There's a lot of us
right.
that do, for
Um,
sure.
Absolutely. Falls. You're a greater risk for falls if you don't get adequate rest and sleep. Chronic pain.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I feel
Oh,
like
don't I know it.
when I don't rest, I have a bulging disc in my back. When I
Mhm.
don't have adequate rest, that pain comes back like a vengeance.
Yeah,
I
but if you
bet you
drink if you do too much rest, you could also be
you should
achy.
also but it's a balance. I
Mhm.
guarantee you, if you have pain, like our producer, her side sometimes she has issues with her sciatic nerve. I bet you if you take a look back at every time you have a chronic pain re-emerge, it's because
Mhm.
you were doing too much prior to that pain re-emerging.
Yes. Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
And
Like
it
for me,
amplifies it. It
always.
truly, truly amplifies it. Living with chronic pain as and trying to sleep, and it's all the things are interconnected. I used to have really bad insomnia, which contributed to my endometriosis pain, but I couldn't rest because I was in pain. It was a cycle. It was a
Yeah,
cycle. I'm a lot better now, but that and and then trying to show up in your cognitive capabilities because you're not sleeping and you're in pain, and then it's so interrelated.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is so
it is.
interrelated.
Your cardiovascular health, come on now. Come on
Mm,
now. You know it. They tell you. When you don't sleep well, you get cortisol levels, you get belly fat. The belly fat contributes to your heart
yes.
health. It's a vicious cycle. And then
Yep.
Parkinson's disease. So, I mean, we just really had that conversation about, you know, benefits of resting, right? We just
Mhm.
went through some of the huge benefits of resting. We talk about it heals your body, reduces stress, boosts creativity, improves productivity, enhances decision making. And I think it's very important that we consider these steps when we to try to reclaim the lost practice of weekly rest in our life. Because I bet you
Yeah.
if you take a step back and you look at your life as a whole during the week, because sometimes I say, take a look at your life as a whole. How are you doing stuff? No, take your life day by day.
You
Look
really
at your
need
last
to.
week. Yeah. Take an assessment of last week. How many times did you actually rest? And we're not talking about sleeping and not
Mm-mm.
just sitting down because you were moving too much. Actually doing something to restore yourself. Because that's what really rest is about. It's
Consciously.
about consciously restoring ourselves,
Mhm. You
pouring
have to
back
be
into
intentional.
us. Yes. And a lot of us don't do it, which is why
No.
we always feel drained, especially Black women.
Always. Phew, yes.
Especially
We
Black
talked about that
women.
yesterday at the chapter retreat. The self-care and
especially
all of that,
yes,
and why we keep going and going and going.
and we
To
never
what
stop.
end?
To what
We are
end?
not
No end.
Superman, we're not Superwoman, we don't have S on our chest, and we fall over, securing your oxygen mask first. You can't
You can,
do all
yep,
that.
you can die in your office. They will come in, put you on a stretcher, take you out, and the
Mm,
next day post your position.
pretty much.
So rest.
So
Um,
important.
so find contentment in your current life,
Mhm.
plan your rest, and then take some responsibility for your life. The main thing here is plan your rest. It's not sexy, like to plan, just like planning sex, not sexy, but
Mhm.
plan your rest because sometimes it may not be sexy, but it may help you get what you need.
And get sexy.
Yes,
I'm just saying, because if you plan
yes.
and rest, then you got energy to be
And
sexy.
and here's it. This is something that wasn't in here that we didn't talk about, but I guarantee you, if your sex life is waning,
Ah, yes.
look at what is going on around that. And I guarantee you
Mentally
it's because you are mentally, physically, everything drained. There's
drained.
something that I read recently, and I'm in a mommy group, and a lot of moms talk about this, how they are touch, what is the word for it?
Deficient?
Not touch deficient. It's the other,
Touch
when you're
aversion?
not, no, when you have too much, when it's too much.
Oh. Overload? That's not overload, but
It'll come to me, but
yeah.
basically, a lot of moms say they are like overloaded with touch because they have children, and their
Right.
children, especially if young children, are touching, grabbing,
Climbing.
climbing, and then the more you have, the more that happens. So by the end of the day, you haven't even gotten a chance to really just let your body, mind, everything physically rest. And then now here comes your partner, and they're like,
Mm,
"Now I want touch," and you're like, "I can't, I
right.
can't. I am overloaded. I can't." Um,
Sensory.
yes.
Too
So
much.
look at that as well because it could happen.
It really can.
It can
So when
happen.
when you're looking at these things, and we've said some other techniques to kind of think about, um, there's a number of ways that we've kind of touched upon already. And some of these we've actually talked about in some of our past episodes, and I'll go through that when I'm done going over these. But some restful techniques, real quick, are practicing gratitude, taking deep breaths. Breath work is amazing. That's why
Overstim.
that's
Sorry,
yeah.
it came to my mind. You are touched out and overstimulated. That's what it is.
Touchdown
Overstimulated.
overstimulated.
Overstimulated by
Yes,
that.
it's too
So
much, and a lot of
yeah,
that's a real thing, like, when
it
children
is.
are even when if you're looking in the autism world, there's sometimes some children that are autistic, if there's too much stimulation, it takes them to a whole other level because their body can't handle it. But
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have to be autistic to go through that, but it's very real,
Mm-hmm.
and people understand or experience that rather in ways that they hadn't really thought about because it's not something people talk about
Yes.
generally, of being overstimulated with too much touch from other things that are always pulling and grabbing on you and all the like. Cultivating healthy habits, mindful practice for like relaxation, and practicing sleep hygiene. So one of our episodes we talked about was gratitude. Take a listen to it, go back and think about it, and think and hear about what it is that we were talking about. But real quickly, a lot of times we focus on the big things that we're grateful for instead of focusing on the little things. The little things mean a lot because they build up. It's usually not like, for instance, if you and your spouse are having an issue, y'all don't probably get divorced. Well, there are big issues. But if you leave something out, you don't put the toilet seat down, if
Mm-hmm.
that one day, that's that one little straw that just blows the whole shit up. And those little things make a difference. So taking time to be appreciative and be grateful for the little things that make you go from point A to point B every day can really boost your satisfaction. And the more you focus on those little things, the bigger appreciation you have for your day, and be able to really rest in those little things. Breathing, like I had mentioned, 5 deep breaths throughout your day in different intervals. Nowadays on your phone or your watches, I know the smartphones, they have those breathing
They
techniques
do.
built in
They
where it
do. Mm-hmm.
vibrates for you to do breath work like in 2-minute intervals, 5-minute intervals, and where you are. So and breathing really does calm you down. Like breath work is amazing. So something to really kind of think about, taking your deep breaths and going ahead with your day in the morning while you're getting your coffee, on your job while you're driving, or when you're waiting for your computer to turn on, right? You can do some
Yep.
breath work then. Just
Yep.
in 5 minute, 4 breaths in, five breathing out, a five count rather. Cultivating your healthy habits. Exercising, it reduces your adverse effects of stress and gives you energy, the endorphins,
Yep.
adrenaline, and it helps you sleep better. You know, I know a lot of us, we're like, we're too tired to work out, but actually working out can kind of energize you and, combat that, with all your neurotransmitters and all that stuff, or that workout high that people do or enjoy. And then mindfully practicing relaxation. We touched on this already. Carrying this should carry as much weight as you going to the grocery store. Like this, it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get
Yep.
to it
Yep.
at some point. It's just like you have anything else to do on your to-do list. Like we said, planning your relaxation, that's key. Unfortunately, it took me 6 years to plan a vacation because I was sick, but it is what it is. But I got it and I'm happy for it. But now, even just mindfully practicing, like I don't work past a certain time anymore. I have an alarm that goes off at 5:30, which is when I stop. And for that half hour after work, I just sit and just am present. I go outside, walk around, go in the grass, and then come back to restart the second half of my evening. But I had to intentionally make myself do that and set alarms for myself because I wasn't doing it. And
Mhm.
now it's just part of my day.
You have to. You
You
have to.
have
You
to.
have
It's
to.
it's so key for your mental wellness. And then of course what we talked about with practicing sleep hygiene, getting adequate sleep, you know and just being able to have your clear thoughts and good habits of what the electronics are, if it's a blue light or whatever. I can't remember all of that, what have you, but those types of things. We talked about it in episode 1 in self-care in the time of corona. We touch upon a lot of these things on how to take care of yourself. you know um Other things, as far as even with cultivating healthy habits, to circle back real quick. Healthy habits also involves minding who you are around
Mhm.
and who you's in your circle.
Yes.
Protecting your neck is an episode we kind of talked about that. That's episode
Absolutely.
3.
Yep.
Protect your neck. Be mindful of who's in your space, whose energy you're absorbing, you know? And then also in episode 14, we talked about knowing when to leave the party. That is part of rest. You need to know how to address certain situations, when to back away, to give yourself a mental break from whatever those situations may be. And knowing when to step away is so key. And if you're too tired and don't really and not in touch with yourself, you're not going to really be able to do all of that. So
It's
you have to
hard
be
for some
conscious.
people.
It
Yeah, but you
is.
have to be conscious, like you said.
Yeah, it is. It's key. And then the big one, I think, is minding your business, drinking your water, and staying in your lane, because that can
Hmm.
provide you a ton of rest because you don't involve yourself with
Yeah.
other
Yep.
foolishness. So take a listen to some of those, 'cause to kind of delve deeper into what we're talking about, because they're all interrelated.
Mhm.
It's all interrelated with what you're going through. Um, but one thing I will say, as we're getting ready to close, as much as we are on our electronics, and sometimes our electronics can help us get rest, spending hours online and on your smartphones does not provide rest, y'all. I know people are
No.
like, it zones out, but your neurons and all those things are still going. Those ideas are going in the back of your head. Most people are so addicted to their phones, they don't even know it. Like they literally cannot do anything without your phone. Sometimes I will put my phone down and forget where the hell I put it. And people are like, I called you, I texted you. And I'm like, huh? What? And I really don't. I mean, I'm on my phone, but I'm not on it like that. There are
Mhm.
people that they cannot move without being on their phone. It's an
Right.
addiction, you know? And it doesn't allow you to rest, but some people think that you're resting, but your brain is picking up subliminally everything that's going on, the positive and negative things that now are in the back of your subconscious when you try to go to sleep.
Let me tell you what you could do if you are somebody like me, when you're trying to go to sleep, if you're addicted to your phone or whatever. Um, and it could help you when you wake up.
Mhm.
I know people, and I've done this, where if I had like a really bad day and I'm trying to sleep and I'm having a very hard time closing my eyes and just going and being. I put my headphones on. I put on like a meditation
Mhm.
like app. I put on some background. What do they call it?
Ambient.
Soundscape, ambient.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I just let that seek in. If you have an audiobook on self help or
Mhm. Yeah,
on
bedtime stories for adults.
yeah, anything, put it in there. And I promise you, I've done this a few times where I was a hard time shutting my brain off. I'll put those in, I'll put my eye mask on, I just zone out and I finally fall asleep. And when I wake up in the morning, my brain is rested, but
Mm.
also has the words or tools or whatever it is I was listening in
Mhm.
still there. So I wake up more peaceful and ready to start the day.
Yeah. That subliminal stuff is no joke.
It is because you really shouldn't be watching TV right before you go to bed, or you
No.
really shouldn't be on your screen right before you go to bed. Because the last thing you take in is the last thing you take in.
Yeah.
And so you have to be mindful of what you're putting into your body mentally because it does
Mhm.
come out. But if that is something that you struggle with, do that
Yeah.
because maybe that'll help set the tone when you wake up.
Guess so true.
Um, but like you said, spending hours online on your smartphone, on your computer, on TV, watching dumb stuff.
Mhm.
Sometimes, if we disconnect from all of that, find meaningful ways to rest, practice those meaningful ways to rest,
Mhm.
we may find that a lot of stuff improves around us.
Exactly.
Our love life, our
Mhm.
friendships, our work, our motivation, our happiness.
Mhm.
Actually, that was just going to be the last sip of the day, but
Yeah.
I done jump right into it. But so we don't even need to take a break. We
Oh,
can
okay.
just
We
go from there to the end because that was going to be my last sip, basically, like finding ways to really fully, reconnect with yourself
right.
on all those levels.
Mhm.
Finding a way to rest that allows you to reconnect. Again, my thing is always restore, replenish, refresh.
Mhm.
Restore, replenish, refresh.
So
Restore,
key.
replenish, refresh. Refresh. You have to
Mhm.
do that. We refresh our computers all the time. You may not shut it down. You may restart it. And when you
That is a
restart your
really
computer,
good example.
it acts the way you need to act. Sometimes there's a glitch, and what do
Mhm.
they tell you? Just restart it.
Yeah.
When you're glitching, restart.
Unplug. Reboot.
Like Beyonce said, make a bad bitch glitchy. Sometimes shit makes a bad bitch glitchy.
Facts.
And you could be glitchy
Facts.
mentally, physically, emotionally, socially, spiritually.
All of that.
Find a way. You got to find a way, my people.
You have to. You have to. It's
You
it's it's
know,
something you really have to be intentional about because if
Mm.
you're not resting, how are you going to get up and do what it is you need to do?
You can't pour into empty. What do they say? You can't pour from an empty cup. That's
No.
all about rest,
Yeah, it's all about rest. And
and
it's
it's not
something that we
sleeping,
and exactly.
and
And
it's
as
not
much
always.
yeah, it's yeah, it's not sleeping.
And let me tell you something before we head out. It's not always going on vacation. A lot of us feel like I haven't been on a vacation. I need to go on a vacation to rest. Sometimes going
Yeah.
on vacation is more
It's
stressful than
stressful.
staying your ass at home.
Exactly, because some people don't know what that means.
Cause
And
yeah, y'all can lay out on the beach, but it's still stressful to get to the airport
mhm,
or get in a car to travel wherever you're going, checking in,
all of those
making sure
things
you have the funds
to
necessary,
go while you're there.
spending money. Cause I don't
All of
care.
those.
I'm one of those people that well budgets for everything, right?
Yeah,
Because I don't like being poor.
that part.
I don't
I
like
have an
being,
aversion to that.
yeah. Let me not say being poor because that's not an accurate statement. I don't like being financially stressed. That's a
Straps.
better
Yeah,
statement.
that's a
Not
yeah.
even stressed. I don't like to be financially stressed. And what I mean by financially stressed is I don't like worrying about money
Mhm.
to the point where, because I think everybody worries about money in some capacity, right? We worry about whether we'll have enough money for retirement. We worry if
Yeah.
we'll have enough money to send our kids to college. We
Mhm.
worry about getting this new vehicle and how we're going to keep up the maintenance. We
Yep.
worry about it. Even if you are financially stable,
It's
money is
still
still
swear.
one of those factors, especially when we get recessions, if you lose
Yes.
your job, whatever the case may be, money still becomes a factor. It may not be a high stressor, it could be a low stressor for you. But money, financial wellness is something that people think about. And so if finances stress you, you need to rest. Rest your pockets.
Oh,
Rest that credit card.
yes. Rest that credit card,
Rest that
y'all.
debit card. Rest that savings account, right? I'm gonna tell you, and I know this is completely off topic, but if you are somebody that's right now, like, I can't rest because I have all of these financial worries and I need to figure it out, go on Rocket Mortgage. If you cannot afford a financial advisor at the moment, if you can't afford somebody who's gonna look at your finances for you and figure out where you're going wrong, get Rocket Money.
Yeah.
Rocket Money gonna be in your business. Rocket Money gonna tell
They will
you
tell
how
you.
trash you are at
Mm.
spending.
And they will
They're
send you
going,
alerts
yep,
about what it is that they're like, what are you doing?
yeah. Oh, we have a detected large transaction.
Be like, what?
Huh?
Yeah.
Hey, for me, sometimes the large transactions, I'd be like, that ain't that large. But the fact that you
Right.
telling me it's that large
It keeps you
means I'm
awake.
not thinking about this money
I'm just
clearly.
swiping. I'm just swiping. Or you're just letting automatic stuff come out. But
Yeah.
I definitely
Highly
because
recommend Rocket
highly
Money.
recommend it.
It
I
will humble
definitely
you in a minute and
and
embarrass
you
you.
it will and that's what it is. It will embarrass you.
I started using it after the pandemic, like, well, not
Mhm.
after, like after
When it was like
2020.
Truebill or something else, and then
Yeah,
Rocket Mortgage bought it.
yeah, about 2021. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is how much I've been spending on Amazon. Oh, okay, no,
Yeah. They will tell you about yourself.
they will. But I say all that to say, find ways to help you rest.
Mhm.
Just
Enjoy
find
it.
the ways.
And
Enjoy your
enjoy
life
it.
and realize that you don't always have to spend money
Yes.
to find ways to rest. But if you
So true.
do, make sure that your money is going far
Toward.
and
Mhm.
finding things that are really going to help you rest.
Agree.
We love you
Agree.
all and we want you to maximize your time here on this earth, even though the world is
Yes.
trash. And
You gotta
we
be
made,
rest in this crazy world. You gotta find those
you got to find
side
it.
those pieces and spaces of solace with all the craziness going on.
Yes. So that's it for me.
It's so important. So thank you all for joining us this week on Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. You can follow us on Instagram, Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z Pod, and on Facebook. Get information on podcasts, guests, and news. Thanks for listening. Have a restful week, y'all. Take some time for you. Be well.